Amy, Pegatha, Breezy, Ryan, John, and Ron, and Eddie Watkins Jr. Thank you. You are a being of light. You come from the light. You are the light. Be the light. You are a being of light. You come from the light. You are the light. Be the light. I think that's our quest in this life. To remember that we are a being of light, a being of love, a spiritual being, an energy being, that is where we come, that is what we are made of. It is our nature and our essence, and it is our job to be that in this life, to get back to who we are. We had a wonderful Solstice labyrinth walk. I had so much fun in this labyrinth walk. I've never had as much joy walking a labyrinth as I had in this room Friday night, and I don't know if it was the full moon or the labyrinth or whatever, but as soon as I stepped onto that labyrinth, I was giggling. And I was dancing around that labyrinth and spinning on the turns and all of that. It was wonderful. And as we move through this idea of winter solstice, what I like about it is that the days from now until summer solstice will be getting longer. Because we are returning to the light. We are turning back to the light. And Christendom celebrates Christmas at this time. And I've said it so many times, you probably already know, that Jesus was not born in the winter. Jesus was born in the summer. They would not have had a call for census and taxes in the winter. They had that call in the summer. But the Christians couldn't get the pagans on board. They just didn't want to hear about this Savior and all of the rules and regulations that had to do with Christianity. And so what they noticed was that the pagans were really into winter solstice, that they would have bonfires and they would dance around and they would get all wild. And so early Christianity put the birth of Jesus in December, probably at that moment on the winter solstice. And then they told the pagans really what they were doing is they were dancing for Jesus. And if you tell somebody something long enough, they're going to believe you. And so all of a sudden we have this idea of the birth of Jesus in the winter, but it happened in the summer. Some people say he wasn't even born in Bethlehem, but that's a whole other story. I think as we return to the light, it's important for us to remember where we came from. That we are not physical beings on planet Earth. We are spiritual beings, alive and well in this realm of reality. We are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, alive and well on planet Earth. We are not our story. We are not our past. We are not the circumstances in our life. That does not define us. We are beings of light. We come from the light. We are the light. It is our job to be the light, to be a channel through which that light comes forth. I've often told you that you are light bearers, that you are the ones who said, transformation of human consciousness on planet Earth, I'm in. I'm going to jump down there and incarnate, baby boomers, addicted families, dysfunctional stuff, all the good ones are gone, no problem. I'm a being of light. I'm going to jump down and incarnate in one of those families so that I can be at Center for Spiritual Living in 2018 and I can be a light bearer and a way shower. That's you. And you know, humanity is catching up. I actually saw napkins yesterday that said best day ever. We are infiltrating into the commercial world of America and planting little seeds in people's subconscious. We're holding the bar high to say that anything is possible, that God is right inside of us, and we can be, have, do whatever it is we choose, that we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth, that we are the light. And so here we are as light bearers, marching forward, holding our lights high, letting everyone else around us see which way to go. When people get lost in ideas of conflict and war, we hold the light of peace. When people get lost in hatred and separation, we hold the light of love. When people get lost, we hold the light. And not only does the light enlighten us, but it enlightens everybody around us. We don't get to be enlightened alone. We're all in this together. There are 7.5 billion us's on this planet. And every time we shine a little brighter, everybody else gets to see a little more clearly. We are the light. I picked this picture. You don't really know what kind of light that is. Is that the star from a faraway sun? Is that some kind of an explosion? That is one molecule of light, 3 photons of light. And sometimes people say, well, I can't be the light because I don't have enough light. I'm not together enough to be the light. I'm not enlightened yet. I'm not good enough, clear enough, pure enough, not spiritual enough to be the light. Oh, poppycock. All you are is the light. All you are is light. It's what you're made out of. It's what you are. You bring it with you. You leave a little light behind when you leave a place. You are the light. And even if you have just a tiny bit of light, you can enlighten the world. You know, some people say, oh, well, we have to be aware of the darkness. Oh, the darkness, the darkness. There is no darkness. There's only light. If we turn off all of the lights in here, and we light a match, that match will take over the seeming darkness. And if the room in the foyer is dark and we turn the lights on in here and open the doors, does the darkness come in here and put out the light? No, the light goes through cricks and crannies and any way it can to bring light wherever it is needed. There is no darkness, there is only light. And it is our job to be the light. And some people say, well, you don't know my story, Barbara. Gosh, 40 years, I've heard it all. I guarantee you over and over and over again. You don't know my story. My story is all about pain and suffering and struggle. I was not loved the way I wanted to be loved. I was not taken care of to the level of my expectations. I was raped, I was beaten, I was abused, I went bankrupt, I was left. Nah, that's just a story. For that matter, that's your little story. And I have news for you, everybody's got a little story. It does not make you special. You are not special in your littleness. Littleness is common. I would ask you what your big story is. What is your big story? That you triumphed over abuse? Yes. That you loved even though you had been hurt? Yes. That you raised yourself out of poverty to live the rich life? Yes. That you healed things going on in your body? Yes. That you stopped the cycle of abuse? Yes. That's your big story. Yeah. Everybody has a little story, and if they stay there, nothing changes. Gandhi got thrown off of a train. He was put in prison. He was beaten. He was starved. Well, a lot of the starving was himself. But if he had left it there, he wouldn't have changed the world. He wouldn't have freed India from the rule of the English. He wouldn't have taught the world nonviolence, season for nonviolence, season for intentional peace in January. He wouldn't have taught that. He wouldn't have said there's another way if he didn't rise up into his big story. Maya Angelou, I love her. She was raped as a child, young child. She told the village who did it, and they killed him. And so she did not speak for years. She was afraid to speak. She didn't stay there. You don't go, Maya who? Who's that? Never heard of her because she never spoke again? No, she had to find her voice. And when she found her voice, she is one of the most beautiful poets I've ever heard. But she had to find her big story. Martin Luther King, he died when he was in his 30s. He didn't live a long life. He faced prejudice all of his life. He was killed. Is that all there was? No. He led the civil rights movement in this country. He changed the way we do America because he found his big story. And Jesus at Christmas time. What about him? If you look at the facts, they're not pretty. He was born to an unwed mother. His father was a carpenter. He worked as a carpenter. He never went more than 200 miles away from his home. He hung out with a scraggly group of guys, oftentimes camping. He didn't have much money. He wandered from place to place, kind of like the people we see out on the road. And then, when he was just in his early 30s, people turned against him. They held a mock trial. They killed him, crucified him. Nasty way to go. But if that was all that there was, then we wouldn't be celebrating Christmas at the wrong time of the year. It's true. He raised the dead. He caused the blind to see. He had the lame walk. He healed people who just touched his garment. He fed the masses. And one of my favorites, he taught people how to reach into the mouth of a fish and pull out tax money. Tax season's coming up. Think about it. You can reach your hand into the mailbox, into life, and pull out the money that you need. He taught people to do that. There are 2.1 billion people on this planet that call themselves Christian because he found his bigger story. And so in being the light, I encourage you to find your bigger story. To find that within you that supersedes and transcends all of the issues of your life, all of the experiences of your life, because you are not bound by experience. You are not bound by what has happened up until now. If we couldn't go beyond what has happened until now, we would never grow. There would be no evolution. There would be no evolution of consciousness. We have to go beyond our limits and embrace that greater us yet to be. There's a Bible part of Barbara that you don't really know well because I don't let it out very often. But since it's Christmas, there's a debate that goes on in Christianity that I find fascinating. And it is whether or not Jesus was born the Christ. You know, the star in the east, the three wise men who came with gold, frankincense, and myrrh, some say to buy Jesus for those years that he vanished. They say that they were the magi that came to stake their claim on this being so that they could train him in the ways of the magi. There are those people who say he came in as the Christ with the halo around his head, enlightened, one and only Son of God. Just hold that thought. There's a Catholic priest named Meister Eckhart that says the eternal is forever begatting the only begotten. And he's begatting him in you and in me right now. The eternal is forever begatting the only begotten, and he is begatting him in you and in me right now. So if there is only one begotten Son of God, it is all of us, because the eternal is forever birthing itself as us. That's the idea of Jesus showing up full-orbed, fully enlightened. And then there's another idea that says when Jesus went to see John the Baptist to get baptized, and John the Baptist baptized him, although he protested and said, no, I shouldn't, and Jesus says, just do it. He did it, and the heavens opened, and the light came down, and the voice of God showed up and said, this is my Son, this is my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. And that was the moment of transformation. I don't think it really matters whether you look at this idea of Christ consciousness as something that we come in with or something that we achieve. Frankly, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that we show up as a spiritual being, a being of light. And then we move into this idea that says, oh my gosh, there's physical form, there's me and there's you, there's pain, there's limitation, there's all of this stuff. And as Ram Dass said, we begin to forget. Or if we have the spiritual work that we do that opens us and opens us and opens us to that greater realization of who we truly are. I think it's two sides of the same coin. That our path is to get back to the awareness of knowing who we are. We celebrate the birth of the Christ, not the birth of Jesus. Jesus Christ is not a first and a last name. It wasn't Mary Christ and Joseph Christ having Jesus Christ. It is Jesus the Christ, symbolizing the Christ consciousness, the awakened one, the Buddha in all of us. And so as we move forward on our spiritual path, we can allow ourselves to embrace all that we are. And what are we? We are the light. We're beings of light. We come from the light. We are the light. It is up to us to be the light. And I don't know what you're doing over the holidays or how that's going for you, but I would like to encourage you to be the light in everything that you do. You don't have to be a big light. You don't have to say, I can't spread my light until I'm a floodlight or until I'm a supernova. 3 little tiny photons got together and a molecule of light they made. And once you make the light, nothing can stop it. You can try to build walls around it, but have you ever had a dark area and a room with the light on? It comes out through the bottom of the door, through the sides of the doors, comes out through the cracks. And if you ever open it, light floods out. So consider that you are that room filled with light. I can see the cracks. I can see the light beams shining from you. And if you ever open, then you're going to flood the entire world with your light. This is not something we do lightly here. Lightly, that's a pun. I crack myself up. This is very serious spiritual work here. To dance a labyrinth in joy, to be the light, to hug as many people as you can. We had National Hug Day last week. To laugh, to love without reservations, to go beyond your story, to go beyond your experience, and to find the bigger story. There's a big story inside of each one of us. To be able to change our experience is the power that we have. It's the gift we've been given. And it doesn't matter whether it's a physical thing or a financial thing or starting a business or closing a business or moving to Asheville. It doesn't matter what it is. We have the wherewithal to take what we are and make something greater and bigger out of it. That is my only wish. My only wish is that we remember who we are and that we live our life with a big light or a small light, letting our light shine. Let your light so shine before men and women. Let your light shine. Take your bushel off. Let your light shine. You're a being of light. You come from the light. You are the light. Be the light.
Thank you, Barbara. That was enlightening. So you probably noticed that a number of folks that are normally with us on Sunday morning are not here. I think that has something to do with Christmas as well. People are traveling, and I'm wondering if anyone's traveling and joining us today. If you're here for the first time, would you raise your hand? Anybody here? Okay, we're all family. How about that? All right, because we don't proselytize and make our friends come here when they don't want to. Except on Christmas Eve. No, I'm kidding. All right, so let's have our prosperity acceptors come forward, please. And we have this lovely group of checks that have come to us this week that we're going to put in the baskets. I think, yep, ours made it too. So take out what you're going to give. And if you would, hold it in your hand, maybe close to your heart. And join me in knowing that this gift that you hold in your hand is not just a piece of paper. It's not just an envelope. It's much more than that. It's love. It's the presence of the divine flowing in your life and in the life of this center. It's this wonderful awareness that we are in this dynamic flow, that everything is spirit and that everything has its life, its energy, its movement, and that this that we give comes with not only our generosity, but with that sense of connection, that sense of importance, that sense of meaning. And as it flows to us, it flows from us, and the dynamic flow continues because it comes back. And always being in that circle of love, we'll say these words together aloud to affirm that which we are. I freely and joyously give from the abundance and fullness of my overflowing wealth. Know my gift goes with love as it touches and blesses the world. And so it is.